had a chance to catch up with Russ Gowin before Buckingham hits the road to take on William Monroe. We not only talked about his team, but we talked about more. Coach Gowin, he knows all about the basketball. He watches these teams. He scouts. He talked to us about some of the James River teams, and even about Alta Vista and William Campbell and Dan River as well. Russ Gowin on the Sports Buffet Podcast.
Always fun for me to catch up with Russ Gowin, head coach of the Buckingham Knights. Knights still playing some basketball as we get ready to start the Region B tournament on Tuesday. And, Coach, let's first concentrate on your team first. You've got William Monroe, and you've got to go on the road. But what's been going good for you guys lately?
Well, we've been playing pretty well up until the title game of the James River District. We had won, I think, 11 of 12 or 11 of 13 going into that final game. We've just been playing pretty good team basketball. We've been scoring pretty well, and our kids have been playing hard. We've had a lot of games down the stretch here. We played 11 games in 24 days, and that was because of our football success. We moved our games back, and it helped us get started, and we've had a great season.
When do you feel like you really, I hate to use the word peaked because obviously you want to peak right about now, but when do you feel like you really started playing Buckingham basketball and kind of got some of the bugs worked out, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we felt like one of the turning points, we were over at Randolph Henry in the regular season, and we went over there and we trailed by 13 after, we had played well up until that game, and we trailed by 13 in the fourth quarter, and we finished the game on a 14-0 run to win that game over there, and we felt like at that point, that was kind of we were starting to peak at that point. We were starting to do some things right, and we had a little 8-game win streak during that stretch there that was a big key during that stretch.
For people who may not be familiar with your group, talk about some of the guys that really make you go.
Our number one guy is, of course, Terrian Ayers, who played football. He was our quarterback, and he's our floor leader. He's averaging 14 points and almost 11 rebounds a game from the guard forward position, and he has just played absolutely super down the stretch. He averaged over 22 points a game going into the title game over the last 2.5 weeks. So he's really been on a tear for us. He didn't play as well this Friday night when we played Amelia in the title game. But also Cam Johnson has played well for us all year. He's been really consistent. He averages 13.7 points a game. So those two guys, along with my we only have two seniors. The other senior is L.A. Briley, my point guard. He's averaging about 9 points a game, and he's done really well defensively for us. And we're a young team overall, just two seniors on the team, and both of them start. But we're looking forward to another year. 9 of our guys will return.
I think some people, when they get to the postseason, try to reflect on some past postseason or experience, or even postseason experience in other sports. I think it's been maybe, 2 years since you guys reached the state finals. How much do you bring up, what it takes to get it done in the postseason with that, using that group as an example?
Right. We talk about the postseason all year, but we don't reflect back 2 years ago because a lot of those kids are gone, except for Terrian was on that team, and L.A. was on that team as well. And but they understand what needs to be done. A year ago, we were in the 4-5 game on the road in the regionals, and went on the road and won, and then took Dan River right to the brink. We lost 69-67 on a buzzer beater at Amherst. So our kids have played some tough games on the road, and they understand what we need to do to win. William Monroe is just a great ball club, and we're going to have to play Seuss really, really.
What impresses you about William Monroe?
Well, I tell you, they've got a kid by the name of Martell Williams. He plays down in the post. He's about 6'2", 180, really a physical kid. He averages a little over 18 points a game and 9 rebounds, and he is just absolutely a super athlete. And he's only a junior. And they have another kid, number 12, Gary Morris, who comes off the bench and averages almost 15 points a game off the bench. So that's certainly a concern of ours. And, of course, Williams made first team All-Bull run, and Morris came off the bench and made second team. So that he's a good player to be one of the top 10 players in the Bull Run, and he doesn't even start for William Monroe. And then they got a point guard that's a great distributor, averaging 11 points a game, and another kid that plays in the post by the name of Markel Faulkner, who averages 11 points and almost 10 rebounds. So, they're just a really athletic team, and of course they tied for the Bull Run title and lost in a playoff, and then lost to the same team, George Mason, in the finals. But I tell you, they're 17-8. They've lost only one home game this year, and so we've got to go in there and really play well and play smart like we have been over the last few weeks, except for this past Friday night.
I want to get your thoughts on some other teams that are still playing that you may have seen or you know well from the James River. But before I do, one more question. Give me a game, whether it be, because I know at Buckingham you guys share a lot of athletes in a lot of different sports. What is one game that you think really has your team tested in terms of mental toughness? And it doesn't have to be a this year game, but you talked about that Dan River game. And I know even on the football field you guys came to Gretna a year ago, and that's some hostile atmospheres to play in.
Yeah, and we have a next-door neighbor here that plays us so tough every time we play. We played Cumberland, and we won a game just a week or so ago, 80-66, and our gym was full, completely full, and we also played them a couple weeks before that, same type of game. It ended up being a 12 to 14-point game in front of about 1,000 people, and that's kind of the playoff atmosphere that we want to play. We also played Prince Edward County over in a Call Me Mr. tournament at Longwood College, so we had a couple games over the Christmas break that we played, in that particular atmosphere with, kind of open air type of gym, and that will help us hopefully in this postseason. And then coming down to the Christmas tournament down in Alta Vista, when we played Alta Vista, who is always tough at home, and Liberty of Bedford there, those type games in which we won both, and both were close games, have helped us throughout this season, hopefully, in the postseason as well.
So basically you're saying the more people that are at the game, the merrier.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I tell you, that crowd at William Monroe, those students, they really have a lot of fun with it, and they're really vocal, and we're looking forward to the challenge, and they'll be up for us coming in there, I'm sure.
Let's talk a little bit about some more teams that you've seen up close this year. Randolph Henry, they're on the road at George Mason. Tell me what Randolph Henry does. Tell me what Randolph Henry does good when they win, and then tell me what they, maybe are a little shaky when they lose.
Yeah, they were one of the most athletic teams in our conference, and they were kind of one of the preseason favorites to win it, and they ended up in fourth place. When they're on, they are extremely tough. They've got 4 or 5 seniors that start. They have some height. They're extremely quick and athletic. They're sometimes the only problem they've had this year is closing out some games, and that's been a thorn in their side. That they've had some leads in the fourth quarter that they let get away from them. But I tell you, they're athletic enough to go up to George Mason and will cause them some problems. But George Mason at home, and with their outside shooting and team that they have, it's going to be a challenge for Randolph Henry to win that ball game.
A couple teams in Division I that are in your district that obviously I know you've seen up close. Amelia County, let's start with them, the number 1 seed in Region B Division I. Again, what does Amelia do great? And then if Amelia is going to be in trouble, what happens to get Amelia in trouble?
Yeah, Amelia presses full court the entire game. They're extremely athletic, and they're all senior-laden as well. They've got a kid that was the player of the year, Dante Bowens, and he's a great player. But another kid, Jamal Johnson, down inside for them, he's been averaging about 15 or 16 as of late, and he is about 6'3", 6'4", and he's a problem. But the thing that Amelia gets to you, once they get a few shots down inside and that kind of thing, they've got 2 or 3 guards that can shoot the 3 as well. But I think their biggest strength is their defense. They're so quick, and they're able to trap you in a half court, and when you get rid of the basketball, they seem to be able to get to the next spot just as quick. And they're going to be a tough out for somebody. Where they haven't played particularly as well is on the road. And if they get away from home and you get a team that's patient and can break that press and pound them some inside, a team like maybe Madison County, could cause them some problems in round 2.
And let's talk about the Cumberland Dukes. They're on the road at Luray, but, just when I look at some of the numbers Cumberland has put up this year in a couple games, some of the numbers they've been putting up are almost video game numbers. Again, same thing. When Cumberland's doing good, what are they doing well, and what can get Cumberland in trouble?
Cumberland's got a couple kids that can flat score in Devontae Booker, who I voted for Player of the Year. He did not receive it. He lost it by 1 vote with the coaches. He can just flat light it up. He's had some games in the 30s and 40s this year, and he is a great player. Another kid, Rayshawn Sims, that works the paint area, he averaged 15 to 20 as well. Cumberland's an offensive team that can get up and down the floor. They have no shot that they, are scared to shoot. If they have an Achilles heel, it's their defense. They kind of, what you said, they are arcade-type team. They'll take a 3 or take a 2, and they'll say, go ahead and take your shot because we want to go back the other way. So their defense, if they can tighten their defense up and go up to Luray, they have a shot because they can score some points. But like I said, they have about 10 losses on the season, and all of those are when they were not playing great defense.
And a team, obviously, it's been a while you've seen, but we just talked about them, Alta Vista. What would worry you if you had to play Alta Vista now?
Wow. Hey, I told you early on, Bob, that Alta Vista, at the end of the day, they struggled out of the box with some losses, but I told you at the end of the day they would get back to the regionals, and they're going to be a dangerous team. Coach Carlero does a great job down there. He's done it for years, and the Woodruff kid is a great athlete. I really like their team. I know they've had some hard luck losses, and they've played young. He's playing some young kids too, along with a few seniors, and they're going to be a tough hurt. And I know Robbie St. John over at William Campbell, I know he is getting ready for that game against Alta Vista. That's going to be a tough game. It should be a great game, and I'm sure you all will probably broadcast that one there from over at Naruna. That's got a great game written all over it, and of course, Maxie Cruz and the Generals will be sky high for that game. Alta Vista's going to play them close, though, and I don't know who to predict in that game, but it's going to be a good one.
What impressed you about Cruz? Because I remember seeing you, I think, at the William Campbell Alta Vista game this year. What impresses you about Maxie?
He plays so hard, and he's so energetic, and he's just relentless on the boards. And I tell you, he had a couple thunder dunks tonight. I was scouting. I, of course, scouted about 10, 11 games this year, and he was one of the more athletic kids that I've seen, and boy, he can really get up around that basket. And speaking of William Campbell, Robbie St. John, what a job he's done down there to get his team, second in that tough Dogwood, and he's done a great job down there. So you've got to give them a lot of credit for what they've done this season.
And then before we close up, maybe any other teams in Division II that you've just had the opportunity to catch when you've scouted or not that are still playing some basketball?
Wow, I've had a chance to see Dan River, and I tell you, boy, they're a really tough team. Jacob's done a great job down there at Dan River, and boy, Trey Edmonds is a stud down there, and Virginia Tech got a great athlete in him. They seem to be the top team in Division II, and they're going to make a nice run in this thing, no question about it. They're just explosive. They've got some great guards. They're well coached. They do a lot of things right. And just when you think you have them, they can explode and hit 10 or 12 points on you in a minute and a half, and you're in trouble. And William Campbell, of course, played them close in the title game for about 3 quarters. Then Dan River exploded in that fourth quarter to make it look a lot. It was a lot closer than the final score actually was through 3 quarters.
In general, when you have a team that, like a Dan River, I think obviously most people would want to slow down a Dan River. Is it easier to slow a team down, you think, or speed a team up that's not used to going that tempo? Or do you just want to, get somebody playing faster, hoping they'll make more mistakes, just in general, in your opinion?
That's a great question. I think each team is different. Alta Vista did a great job slowing it down in the first meeting, a 6-point game. And then, of course, in the second time they played, and Dan River really upped the tempo and got it to their liking. In our situation, we prefer to play an up tempo, and we played Dan River like that last year. Everybody was saying you got to slow it down. Well, it was better for us to speed the game up and try to play at their speed. We were able to do that a year ago. This year, who knows? If we can somehow get by this first round, well, it's going to be Dan River Clark sitting there for us for round 2. But we just got a tough place to go, and we've got to really play well to make that happen. But I would love to have a chance to play Dan River again at Amherst maybe, and just have a shot, just take a shot at trying to beat them. They are so good. They're number 1 in the state and undefeated. And sometimes it's just fun to have a shot at them and see what we can do. And maybe we can have that opportunity if we're lucky.
Yeah, and like Ric Flair said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Coach, in closing, give me 3 keys that Buckingham has got to do to make this regional tournament an extended stay.
We've got to keep our turnovers to a minimum. We've got to rebound well. William Monroe is a great rebounding team, and the word of one of the coaches from Madison County, talking with him, the word he used on a couple of the players from William Monroe, they are relentless at rebounding. So they really hit the boards hard, so we've got to do a better job with that. And then, we've got to keep an up-tempo pace. We don't want to score in the 40s or 50s. We want to get it up in the 60s and 70s. And so far this season, we have not lost a game that was decided by single digits. So, if we can keep it close late, we've got a shot at winning on Tuesday, and that's what we're going to try to do up in Standardsville.
Well, Coach, best of luck. Hopefully Buckingham's got a lot more basketball left in them this year, and as always, we appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot, Bob.